In a recent video posted on social media, Vice President J.D. Vance made a statement that should stop everyone in their tracks. He said that over the next decade, it's their goal to ensure that you are a sovereign citizen, and that you cannot be a sovereign citizen if any private company or even a government can steal something that belongs to you.
Let that sink in. The Vice President of the United States just called for every American to be recognized as a sovereign citizen.
If you've been paying attention to media narratives over the past few decades, your head should be spinning right now. Why? Because the term sovereign citizen has been deliberately weaponized by the media and federal agencies as a derogatory label for anti-government extremists. The FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and mainstream media have spent years portraying sovereign citizens as dangerous domestic terrorists, people who don't recognize government authority, refuse to pay taxes, and pose threats to law enforcement. The Southern Poverty Law Center has called it a dangerous anti-government movement. News articles routinely describe sovereign citizen encounters with police as volatile and potentially violent situations. So why is J.D. Vance now using this supposedly dangerous, extremist terminology to describe what he wants for all Americans? The answer reveals something crucial. The term sovereign citizen has been hijacked, and its original meaning has been deliberately obscured. Here's what most Americans don't know. Sovereign citizen was once official U.S. government language, not extremist rhetoric. In 1940, Congress passed a joint resolution creating I Am an American Citizenship Day. President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed it on May 3rd, and in his official proclamation, FDR stated that the day's purpose was to ensure the sovereign citizens of our nation be prepared for the responsibilities and impressed with the significance of their status in our self-governing republic. Read that again. The President of the United States, in an official government proclamation, referred to all Americans as sovereign citizens. This wasn't fringe ideology. This was constitutional civics. In a republic, the people are sovereign. The government derives its just powers from the consent of the governed. We, the people, are the ultimate authority, not the government, not corporations. So what happened? How did we get from FDR's sovereign citizens to the FBI's watch list? The modern sovereign citizen movement emerged in the 1970s and 1980s as an anti-government tax protest ideology with roots in white supremacist groups. These groups twisted the concept of sovereignty to claim they could opt out of all laws, taxes, and government authority. Some adherents have engaged in violent confrontations with law enforcement, leading federal agencies to classify the movement as a domestic terrorism threat. The media ran with this narrative hard. For decades, they've used sovereign citizen exclusively to describe extremists and criminals. The term became toxic, a shorthand for dangerous anti-government radical. But here's the sleight of hand. By allowing extremists to monopolize the term sovereign citizen, the original constitutional principle was memory hold. The idea that American citizens hold sovereignty over their government was effectively erased from public discourse. And this erasure wasn't accidental. It served a purpose. When citizens stop thinking of themselves as sovereign, as the ultimate source of governmental authority, it becomes much easier to expand government power. It becomes easier to justify restrictions on speech, property rights, and personal freedom. After all, if you're just a regular citizen and not a sovereign citizen, maybe you don't really have the authority to question what your government does. This is why J.D. Vance's statement is so significant. By reclaiming the term sovereign citizen and applying it to all Americans, Vance is directly challenging this linguistic manipulation. He's saying that the original meaning, the constitutional meaning, needs to be restored. When Vance says, you cannot be a sovereign citizen if any private company or even a government can steal something that belongs to you, he's articulating a foundational American principle. that your rights and property are yours by natural law, not by government permission. Government exists to protect those rights, not to grant or revoke them at will. This directly contradicts the modern narrative where tech companies can deplatform you without due process. Banks can freeze your accounts based on political views. Governments can seize property through civil asset forfeiture without convicting you of a crime. Private-public partnerships can restrict your freedoms in ways the government couldn't do directly. Vance is saying, if these things can happen to you, you're not actually sovereign. You're a subject, not a citizen. Now here's where it gets interesting. The media has a problem. They've spent decades telling Americans that sovereign citizens are dangerous extremists. But now the vice president is using that exact term to describe what he wants for every American. So what do? Do they admit they've been misrepresenting the term all along? Call the vice president an extremist? Ignore the statement entirely? Try to parse some artificial distinction between sovereign citizens, bad, and sovereign citizens, what Vance means? Watch how this plays out. The media's response will be revealing. Here's the bottom line. There is a difference between constitutional sovereignty and extremist ideology. But that difference has been deliberately blurred to discredit legitimate questions about government overreach. Constitutional sovereignty means the people are the ultimate source of governmental authority. Government exists by consent of the governed. Individual rights precede government and cannot be arbitrarily revoked. Citizens have the right and responsibility to hold government accountable. Extremist sovereign citizen ideology means denying the legitimacy of all government, refusing to follow any laws, claiming immunity from legal consequences, sometimes using violence against authorities. These are not the same thing, but the media has successfully conflated them. When FDR called Americans sovereign citizens in 1940, nobody thought he was promoting extremism. He was describing the fundamental nature of American citizenship in a constitutional republic. That's exactly what J.D. Vance is trying to restore. The question is, will Americans recognize what's being offered here? Will they reclaim their understanding of themselves as sovereign citizens? People with inherent rights that no government or corporation can legitimately violate? Or will the decades of linguistic manipulation prove too powerful, with Americans reflexively rejecting the very concept of their own sovereignty because they've been conditioned to associate it with extremism? Language matters. The terms we use shape how we think. When we allow the meaning of sovereign citizen to be monopolized by extremists and distorted by media, we lose access to a crucial concept, that in America, the citizen is supposed to be sovereign, not the state. J.D. Vance just threw down a gauntlet. He's reclaiming the language. He's forcing a conversation about what citizenship actually means in this country. The real question is, are Americans ready to be sovereign again, or have we become too comfortable being subjects?